Welcome back. This is Rito here, and today we are going to be doing a special video. We are going to be doing a building video to build the base for Raiden the Rogue. I just finished episode 1 for the Raiden playthrough, and I want to build a really cool, evil kind of villain base. I actually have an old dungeon base that I had built probably in like 2015 or 2016 that I want to update and make it into a prison for the NPCs. So let's go ahead and start building, and I'll try to do some time lapses and then I'll do a walkthrough of the final build at the end. So here's the base that I built a long time ago. What I'm going to do is update a lot of these blocks. I'm going to keep a very similar theme, probably add like a spiral staircase, and this is going to be where all of the NPCs will live, or at least most of them, because Raiden's kind of an evil guy, and I figured it would be a great time to have a dungeon. So for the top part, I definitely want to completely revamp this and have a lot more personality and make it a little bit more scary looking. So this is many hours later, and my footage actually had some issues, so it's not actually working, but I do have the final build done here for this part of the base, and the footage for the other part works, so I'll cut to the full time lapse of that in a little bit. Like I said earlier, I wanted to keep the same sort of design, and you can see I've revamped this. I've kind of added more textured blocks to the area. I've changed the background quite a bit, and most of this stuff is actuated, so you can actually fall straight down and use it just like a Hellevator, even though it looks like there's tons of platforms. But if you want to go down and use the platforms, you hug the left or right side, and you can use it as if there's platforms. This right here, I wanted to be kind of just like a demon skull. And I've got the horns, and I put actual spikes in here and different just things to make it look kind of creepy. And then for the eyes, I have red gemspark blocks. But next, I'm going to go cut over to the time lapse for building the tower or main base for Raiden the Rogue. Before I start building, I like to do a rough sketch, usually just on a piece of paper, draw out the build a little bit, figure out what I'm going to do. And then that way when I start building it in game, I can measure out the general dimensions of the outer walls and then start building the frame with a little bit more of an idea of what we're going to do. Having the sketch really makes building the frame a lot faster and reduces the rework for me. For this build, the thing that caused me a lot of rework was selecting blocks, because I was using a lot of blocks that I normally don't use, and because of that I didn't really know how they would work together and the combinations that I would like the most. So I ended up having to break several things quite a few times and just try different blocks and different paints on them. But that's just part of the building process and how you learn and grow as a builder. I have a bunch of building accessories on, including some from the Luiafk mod, which I highly recommend. The highest level building accessories really help out placing blocks quickly and breaking blocks quickly and all that. But then I also have an auto paint selected, and I have a bunch of black paint in my inventory, which is why everything's going down painted black. Next I got to work breaking the ground below the base to create a foundation, and then I just fill it in with some walls of different types just to kind of have some texture below the base. After that I got to work filling in the walls for the base. I just usually pick one wall that I think will be covering the majority of it, and then I kind of go through and replace walls and add detail later on. From there, I kind of decided that I wanted to raise the base off the ground and make it a floating island, kind of like Anna's castle. And so what I ended up doing was pulling it up in T-Edit and then building these chains to make it look like the chains are holding the floating castle to the ground and connecting the two builds together. To make the chains, I used sandstone and stone slabs, and that way they didn't blend. and then I just painted all of it gray and actuated it. Next, I did some of the foundation work for the dungeon part of the base, and I think that effect looks really good. That's something I learned from Khaios' tutorials. Then I opened up T-Edit to quickly save some time on the second chain. You can do a copy and paste, and it is very nice. After that, I just added a ton more detail to the floating base and just adding more spikes and building it out a little bit more. And lastly, I just did some detailed work and smoothed out the dirt on the island. Here is the main base for Raiden. It's quite small, but it took me a really long time. It's something I've never tried building before. For this build, there's tons of actuation all throughout it. Like this right here is a gray painted actuated brick, and then this is black painted and not actuated, and they look very similar. Using actuation in the builds definitely allows you to have a lot more freedom with your build. We've got 3 rooms. This bottom room I think will be the bandits room. And then above here, we're going to have the workshop and some of my storage. I'll have some storage down here as well. And this will be where the goblin lives. I may add magic storage later to this build, but I'm not 100% sure if I want to do it. I still don't really know much about magic storage and it seems a bit confusing. But for now, I'm just going to use what I've got here. But I'll consider it. We'll see what happens. So we've got our spawn point. We've got more storage right here for lore and things like that. And then you can walk right outside these walls, which I feel like is a must. I really like being able to get out of my base quickly and jump right into the action after spawning or teleporting. I try to use lots of different types of bricks and different materials to keep the textures different throughout this build. So I wanted to have kind of a gothic cathedral look mixed with kind of like a demon build or something you'd find in the Underworld. I hope y'all enjoy this build. I think it'll be really fun to use in our rogue playthrough. If you haven't seen episode 1, be sure to go check that out. It was really fun, and I have a lore intro for that episode. So now all that's left to do is import this into Raiden's world, and then I'll probably just transfer a lot of the treasure we already have into these chests here and organize it and all that before next episode. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.